Chief Amara lived in a huge house with high walls and a large gate. Almost everyone in the neighborhood talked about how rich she was. She had two husbands, Ola and Jade, and they both stayed in the house with her. The house was so big that many people worked there: cooks, gardeners, drivers, and a gateman named Kola. The gates were adorned with intricate iron patterns reflecting the grandeur of the household. Every morning, Kola stood by the gate and greeted everyone who came in or out. He was tall, strong, and always ready to help. But that was not the main reason people whispered about him. One hot afternoon, two housemaids, named Laura and Amina, were standing by the kitchen door. They had just finished washing vegetables and were now wiping their hands on clean towels. The aroma of freshly chopped herbs filled the air. They looked around to make sure no one else was listening. Then Laura leaned close to Amina and said, "Have you heard what people are saying about Kola?" She whispered in a low voice as if she was afraid the walls could hear her. Amina's eyes went wide. "What are they saying?" Amina asked, looking around quickly. She did not want anyone to catch them talking about personal matters. In such a big household, if the husbands found out they were gossiping, they could lose their jobs or be scolded. "They say Kola is special," Laura said with a small giggle. "I heard from the driver that he is bigger and stronger than anyone else in some ways." She nudged Amina with her elbow, and they both started laughing quietly. They were trying to keep their voices down, but their excitement made it hard to stay silent. Just then, Ola passed by in the hallway, right behind the partly open kitchen door. The polished wooden floors creaked faintly under his steps. He heard bits of their whispering. He stopped for a moment, wondering what could make the two housemaids giggle so much. He caught the words "bigger" and "stronger." At first he wanted to scold them for gossiping during work time, but his curiosity got the better of him. He leaned closer to the door, trying to hear more, but he only heard giggles. He decided he would ask them later if the right moment came. Ola was a quiet man who carried himself with grace. He was Chief Amara's first husband. He had smooth skin, always wore neat clothes, and liked to keep his chin up when he walked. Most of the staff respected him because he hardly ever raised his voice. But everyone knew he could be strict if things did not go his way. On that day, he went back upstairs thinking about the strange words he heard. He wondered if the maids had been talking about Kola. Not too far away in the large living room with tall windows, Jade was checking his phone. The curtains fluttered slightly from the soft afternoon breeze. He was the second husband, much younger and more playful. He loved bright clothes and big jewelry, and he was known for throwing small parties for his friends. That same afternoon, he saw Ty the driver walk past, and he looked like he was holding in a laugh. Jeet raised an eyebrow and called him over. "Ty," he said, flashing a friendly smile, "why are you laughing to yourself?" He hesitated, glancing around. "It's nothing, sir," he said, trying to keep a straight face. Jeet placed his hands on his hips. "You can tell me. I won't be angry," he promised. Ty sighed. "I just heard some talk among the staff about Kola. They say he is different, stronger than most men, if you understand." He coughed awkwardly and avoided Jade's gaze. Jeet tilted his head, not fully understanding at first. Then he recalled some faint rumors he had heard before about Kola being very well built, not just in his arms and chest, but in other places as well. He suddenly felt his face grow warm and he tried to act casual. "Is that so?" he asked, tapping his foot on the floor. "Well, go on with your duties. Be careful who you share such talk with. When Tai left, Jade sank into a chair. He laughed softly to himself. Kola bigger and stronger, huh? He murmured. He looked out the window where Kola was standing by the gate, greeting a delivery man. He could see how broad his shoulders were and how his arms flexed when he lifted boxes or opened the heavy gate. He smiled, thinking about the rumors. He did not even notice Ola walking in behind him. Ola coughed lightly. Are you busy, Jade? He asked in a calm voice. Jade jerked slightly, turning around. No, just checking on a delivery, he replied with a forced smile. He tried to act like he hadn't been caught thinking about anything private. Ola walked over to the window and looked out, watching Kola too for a moment. Both husbands stood there looking at the gateman with curious eyes. Neither spoke about it directly, but there was a strange feeling in the air. They both had questions about Kola's rumored size, yet neither wanted to admit it. They eventually left the room, each one pretending everything was normal, but they couldn't stop thinking about what they had heard. The large mansion felt different now. Every time Ola or Jade passed by the gate, they found themselves glancing at Kola with new interest. And every time he smiled politely, their hearts beat just a little faster. Later that evening, the two husbands sat at the long dining table with Chief Amara. The crystal chandelier above them cast a warm glow over the table. She was busy tapping on her phone, replying to urgent work messages. Ola sipped his drink quietly. He thought about asking his wife if she had heard any rumors about Kola, but he stayed silent. He felt shy about discussing such personal whispers. Jade, on the other hand, tried to start a conversation. Chief, he said, flashing a bright smile, we have such hard-working people in our home, don't we? Chief Amara looked up a bit surprised. Yes, indeed, she answered. Everyone here does their job well. Why do you ask? Oh, nothing, Jade said quickly. I just noticed Kola has been very active lately, always at the gate, always ready to help. He paused and sneaked a glance at Ola. Ola kept his eyes on his plate, but listened carefully. Chief Amara shrugged. Yes, he's good at his job. I'm thinking of giving him a bonus soon. Let's see. Then she went back to her phone. Jade nodded but kept silent after that. He felt no need to press further, especially with the cat watching him. A strange energy passed between them. It was like they shared a secret thought, something they were both too proud to say out loud. Later after dinner, Chief Amara went upstairs to make more calls. Ola and Jade found themselves alone in the living room. The scent of freshly polished wood lingered in the air. The house felt quiet, the voices of staff drifting from far away. For a moment, the two husbands just stared at each other, each trying to guess what the other was thinking. Ola cleared his throat. So, you like how Kola does his work? He asked in a casual tone, though his eyes were sharp. Jade smiled sweetly. Yes, I think he's doing well, he answered. Why do you ask? Ola tapped his fingers on the arm of the couch. No reason, he said softly, but his gaze flickered with curiosity. Neither man said more. They both stood and went in different directions, each with his own thoughts. Ola climbed the stairs to his bedroom, and Jade drifted down a hallway to check on something else. But the same question lingered in their minds. What did the rumors about Kola really mean? And why did it make their hearts race so much? That night, the house grew quiet, but the new whispers had stirred up a storm in the minds of Ola and Jade. They would never look at Kola the same way again. Each husband had his own secrets and wishes, and they were about to collide in a way none of them expected. Soon they would all find themselves drawn into a web of desire and lies, a web spun by the curious rumors that started in the warm kitchen that very afternoon. Early the next morning, Ola woke up with a heavy feeling in his chest. He had barely slept thinking about Kola and the whispers he had heard. He washed his face and looked in the mirror. His eyes were tired, but he forced a small smile before heading downstairs. As he moved through the hallway, he noticed Jedi walking toward the dining room from the opposite side. They almost bumped into each other near the table. For a moment they stood still, surprised to meet so suddenly. "Good morning," Ola said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Good morning," Jade replied, adjusting the bright scarf around his neck. They sat across from each other at the table. Ola poured himself some tea while Jade picked at a small plate of fruit. The room was quiet, but each husband kept stealing glances at the other. It was like they both had the same thoughts running through their minds. Finally, Ola cleared his throat. "Did you sleep well?" he asked. Jade shrugged. "Yes, I guess. You?" "I slept, but I had strange dreams." Ola paused, remembering the images that flashed through his mind. At night, Kola's strong arms, his gentle smile. He shook his head, trying to focus on something else. Just then, Kola walked by the tall windows outside. He was wearing his neat uniform and carrying a set of keys. Jeet followed his movements with his eyes. Ola noticed and felt a sudden warmth in his chest, like a small fire. He tried to hide it by sipping his tea. Jeet set his plate aside and stood up. "I have a few errands to run. I might need the car soon." He glanced at Ola. "Are you going out today?" Ola shook his head. "I'll be inside most of the day, but I may need Kola to help me if I have any visitors." He said it casually, yet his tone hinted at something else. Jeet picked up his purse. "Well, let's see who he helps first," he joked, though there was an edge in his voice. He gave a quick smile, then walked away. A little later, Jeet stepped out to the driveway where Tai was polishing the car. Kola stood near the gate, greeting a courier who had arrived with some documents for Chief Amara. Jeet watched Kola with curiosity, noticing how he moved so confidently. He waved at him. "Kola, come here for a moment." Kola locked the gate behind the courier and hurried over. "Yes, sir." Jeet smiled. "I might go to the market. Could you help me load some things into the car when I return? I want to buy fruits and vegetables." Kola nodded. "Of course, sir. Let me know when you get back." He thanked him, then climbed into the car. As Ty drove off, he looked at Kola in the side mirror. His heart beat faster than usual. He felt a rush of excitement, though he knew he should be careful. Inside the mansion, Ola paced around the living room. He pretended to check the flowers in a vase, but his mind was on Kola. He remembered how people said he was polite and strong. He also recalled the maid's whispers about his body. He scolded himself. "I shouldn't be thinking about him like this." But his thoughts refused to leave. He walked over to the window just as Kola returned from the driveway. He was about to pass by when Ola knocked on the glass. Kola looked up, saw him, and came closer. He opened the window halfway. "Kola," he said gently, "do you have a moment? I need help with something upstairs." Kola nodded. "Yes, sir." Ola closed the window and went to unlock the main door. "Calm down," he told himself. It's just a small favor. But his feet felt heavy as he moved. As he led Kola upstairs, they reached the hallway outside his bedroom. Ola pointed to a large box of old clothes that he wanted to move into a storage room. I can't carry this alone, he said. Can you help me? Sure, Kola replied, lifting the box easily. His arm muscles tightened under his shirt. Ola watched him for a second too long, then quickly looked away. His cheeks warmed. He carried the box down the corridor and Ola opened the storage room door. The space was dim, filled with old suitcases and dusty furniture. Kola put the box down in a corner and turned to Ola. He was standing by the doorway, his hands clasped together. Is there anything else you need, sir? He asked politely. He hesitated. His eyes flickered to Kola's strong arms. He knew he should say no and let him go, but he felt a strange urge to keep him near. He took a small step forward. Yes, I. He trailed off, unsure how to continue. Then he cleared his throat. Thank you, Kola. I appreciate it. Kola gave a short nod. You're welcome, sir. He moved to pass by him and leave the room. Suddenly, the door swung a bit. Ola realized if he let go of the handle, it might close on them. He laughed nervously, stepping aside. Watch your head, he said, trying to make the moment less awkward. Kola slipped through the doorway and Ola followed. He closed the door behind them. As they walked back to the main stairs, he searched for something else to say, but no words came. His heart drummed so loudly that he worried Kola might hear it. At the top of the stairs, Kola paused. If you need more help later, just call me, he said. Ola thanked him, watching him disappear down the steps. He stood there feeling both relieved and uneasy. Meanwhile, Jade returned from the market and asked Kola to carry the bags to the kitchen. The sun was hot, and Kola's shirt clung to his shoulders. Jade fanned himself, pretending it was only the heat bothering him, but he couldn't stop staring at him. You're very strong, Kola, he said with a playful smile. These bags are so heavy, but you lift them like they weigh nothing. Thank you, sir, he replied, placing the bags on the kitchen counter. Jade leaned forward. Do you work out a lot, or do you have some secret? His tone was light, but his eyes sparkled with curiosity. Kola smiled a bit shy. I do some exercises every morning, sir, but mostly it's just from working around here. Jade nodded slowly. That's good. I admire people who keep fit. He noticed the curious look on Lara's face as the maid set aside the groceries. Jade realized he was probably too obvious with his questions, so he quickly changed the topic. Kola, thank you for your help. I think I'm good now, he said, letting him leave. Yet even as he walked away, he wished he had asked him to stay longer. Later that afternoon, Chief Amara's friend dropped by. Chief Amara was not at home, so Ola and Jade had to receive the guest. They sat with him in the living room offering drinks and snacks, but the man seemed upset that Chief Amara wasn't around. He barely stayed for 10 minutes before leaving in a hurry. Once he was gone, Ola sighed. Chief never tells us anything about her schedule, he said, rubbing his temples. He thought about how often his wife was away. Jade nodded. She's so busy with work that she hardly notices anything here, he said, folding his arms. They both sat in silence for a moment, feeling how empty the house seemed without Chief Amara. Then, across the window, they saw Kola checking the gate lock. Their thoughts drifted again to the man outside, the one who was always there, rain or shine. Ola stood up and moved to the window. Jadis, he said quietly, do you sometimes wonder if Chief Amara cares about us as much as her business? Jade joined him by the window. I wonder that too. He said sadly, it can be lonely in this huge house when she's gone. The two husbands stared at Kola as he worked. The gate glimmered in the late afternoon sun. Kola looked so focused and calm. It made them think of the rumors again, how he was said to be bigger and stronger. Neither husband spoke these words, but their thoughts were the same. What if we find the attention we crave somewhere else? Somewhere else we find the attention we crave somewhere else. By nightfall, they both retreated to their rooms, each lost in his own thoughts. Ola typed a short message on his phone, planning to ask Kola to fix a broken light in his sitting room the next day. Jade sat on his bed, scrolling through pictures, thinking of another excuse to call Kola. Both men felt their hearts twist with a strange mix of excitement and worry. They did not want to say it out loud, but they were each drawn to the same man. It was like a secret fire burning in their chests, one they had never felt before. And so, as darkness covered the mansion, Ola and Jade made silent plans. Each decided he would find a way to spend time alone with Kola. Each believed he could win his affection first. Neither of them wanted to think about the consequences. They only knew that the emptiness in their lives felt too deep, and Kola was the one man who seemed to fill that void. They had no idea how much their desires would soon change everything inside Chief Amara's home. The journey inside Chief Amara's grand mansion has just begun. Rumors about Kola are spreading not just among the staff, but also seeping into the minds of Ola and Jade. Curiosity is slowly turning into uncontrollable emotions, creating an atmosphere filled with tension and mystery. Is Kola truly as extraordinary as the whispers suggest? And where will the growing feelings within Ola and Jade lead them toward truth or irreconcilable conflict? Don't miss part 2, where secrets will be unveiled and the story takes an unexpected and dramatic turn. Get ready for more thrilling twists in this captivating tale. From sneaking out of the hostel at night, helping satisfy each other's urges, to even using hard drugs to terminate pregnancies, you won't believe the crazy and fetish things that happen in this girl's only boarding school in one small African town. This is why you must always check on your children regularly, especially those in boarding schools. Here's what happened in Royal Grace Academy. All the students looked up to Mercy. She was the perfect senior girl. Her uniform was always clean, her hair was always neat, and her smile was as bright as the morning sun. Teachers loved her, and students admired her. During the day, Mercy seemed like the kind of girl every parent would want their child to be, but when the night came, Mercy was a completely different person. She had a secret life that no one knew about. When the hostel lights went off and everyone else was deep in sleep, Mercy would quietly get up from her bed. She moved like a cat, careful not to make a sound. She reached under her mattress and pulled out a small bag. Inside were clothes very different from the school uniform, shiny, colorful clothes that sparkled like the stars. Mercy tiptoed to the back of the hostel, where the small fence stood like a silent guard. With one swift move, she climbed over the fence, her small bag slung over her shoulder. On the other side, she would change into her fancy clothes. The simple schoolgirl transformed into someone else entirely, looking like she belonged to the big city. Every night, She went to parties. There, the music was loud, and the lights danced in many colors. Mercy laughed, danced, and had the time of her life. By 500 a.m., just as the birds began to sing, she was back at the hostel. She climbed the fence again, changed back into her uniform, and slipped into bed before anyone woke up. To her classmates and teachers, Mercy was an angel. No one suspected that at night she lived a life full of secrets. If only they knew. Mercy whispered to herself one morning as she folded her shiny dress and hid it under her mattress. Her double life continued like a stream flowing quietly in the shadows. One night, Mercy was at a party that glittered like stars in the sky. The music boomed, and the air smelled of expensive drinks and perfumes. While dancing, she met a lady with sharp eyes and a sly smile. The woman leaned close and whispered, "You could make much more money, you know. Just bring a few more girls with you. Men will pay for them, and everyone goes home happy." Mercy's ears perked up like a cat hearing a mouse. The idea sounded sweet, like honey dripping from a comb. She thought about it, nodding slowly. Who should I start with? She wondered. Then it hit her. Lola. Lola was a quiet junior student with a sad look in her eyes. Her parents never visited her on visiting days, and they didn't send her money or foodstuff. She always ate the school's small portions, and sometimes she even went to bed hungry. Mercy knew Lola's struggle and decided to use it to her advantage. The next day, Mercy cornered Lola near the hostel. Her voice was as sweet as sugar. "Lola, I've noticed you've been managing," she began. "What if I told you there's a way to make money and live better?" Lola's eyes lit up, curious. "What do I have to do?" she asked softly. "Just follow me tonight," Mercy said. "I'll take care of everything. You'll make enough money to buy good food and anything else you need." Lola hesitated, her heart beating fast like a drum. But the thought of having money to eat better meals tempted her. Finally, she nodded. "I'll go," she said. That night, when everyone was asleep, Mercy woke Lola and handed her a small bag. They sneaked out just like Mercy always did and climbed the fence. Once outside, Mercy gave Lola a dress that shimmered like the morning dew. Lola looked at the dress, unsure, but Mercy urged her to wear it. When they arrived at the party, Lola's eyes widened. The room was alive with lights, music, and laughter. Everything felt strange and exciting. A man approached, smiling at Lola. Mercy whispered, "Go with him. You'll be fine." Lola, nervous but trusting Mercy, followed the man. Hours later, he returned her with some money in her hand. Mercy smiled as they headed back to the hostel, sneaking in just before dawn. The next morning, Lola was tired in class, her eyes heavy like stones, but her pocket was full. When Mercy shared the money with her, Lola felt a mix of happiness and guilt. "It's not so bad," she thought. From that day, Lola became part of Mercy's secret world, and the game had only just begun. Lola couldn't stop smiling. The money she earned from sneaking out with Mercy felt like magic in her hands. She bought extra food, snacks, and even a few nice things for herself. It was like a new world had opened up, and soon her excitement became hard to hide. One day, while they sat behind the hostel, Lola whispered to Mimi, her classmate, about her newfound secret. "You can make a lot of money, Mimi," she said, her voice low but teasing. "You just need to come with me and Mercy." Word spread like wildfire. One by one, girls started approaching Mercy, asking if they could join her. Mercy smiled slightly, knowing her little group was growing. She picked only the prettiest and the most daring. By the end of the week, her crew had grown to 6 girls, each one eager to sneak out at night and return before dawn. With more girls, Mercy needed to keep things organized. "We can't get caught," she said, her voice firm as she addressed the group. "Everyone must follow my rules. If you mess up, we're all in trouble." The first rule was to smuggle phones into the hostel. The girls hid them in their lockers, under mattresses, and even inside their shoes. They used these phones to chat with the men they met at the parties and arrange their secret meetups. But soon, something unexpected happened. One of the girls, Fumi, missed her period. Her heart pounded with fear as she told Mercy, "I think I'm pregnant," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Mercy, calm as ever, shrugged. "Don't worry," she said. "I know a chemist who can fix it." That night, Mercy snuck out, not to a party, but to meet a chemist who was part of the scheme. He handed her a small packet of pills. "Tell her to rest for a few days," the man said, "and make sure no one finds out." Mercy returned and gave the pills to Fumi, who stayed in the hostel the next day, pretending to be sick. By the third day, Fumi was back on her feet, as if nothing had happened. This became their routine. Whenever a girl got pregnant, Mercy would visit the chemist, get the pills, and keep things quiet. The girls continued sneaking out, dancing the night away, and returning to the hostel with money in their pockets. Mercy controlled everything, like the captain of a secret ship sailing through dangerous waters. The girls trusted her completely, but little did they know that the path they were on was like a road paved with thorns, hidden under soft petals. For now, the secret group thrived, but trouble was waiting just around the corner. In the school was a beautiful, innocent girl named Ada. Ada was the kind of student everyone admired. She was brilliant, focused, and had earned a scholarship to Royal Grace Academy through her hard work. Her parents, who came from a humble background, had one piece of advice before she left for school: stay focused, avoid trouble, and make us proud. For a while, Ada did just that. She stayed away from drama and always sat in the front row during lessons. But everything changed when she met Mimi and Nene, some of Mercy's close friends and partners in crime. Mimi and Nen were the exact opposite of Ada. Their parents were wealthy, and they lived like queens in the hostel. They wore expensive clothes, bought snacks whenever they wanted, and carried the latest phones. Ada couldn't help but admire their lives, even though she knew their behavior wasn't the best. One afternoon, Mimi approached Ada with her usual confident smirk. "Ada, why do you always sit here with these boring girls? Come hang out with us," she said. At first, Ada hesitated. She had heard stories about Mimi and Nene, and her friends had warned her. But the way Mimi spoke, with her smooth words and charming smile, made Ada feel special. Before long, she started spending time with them. One evening, Mimi said, "We're sneaking out tonight. There's a party at this cool club, and you're coming with us." Ada's eyes widened. "No, I can't do that. What if we get caught?" Nene rolled her eyes. "Caught by who? Everyone does it, Ada. Don't be such a baby. Besides, don't you want to have some fun for once?" After a lot of pressure, Ada finally gave in. That night, when the hostel was quiet, she followed Mercy, Mimi, and Nene as they snuck out. The air outside was cool, with a faint smell of rain lingering from an earlier drizzle. They handed her a short, flashy dress and a phone. The dress shimmered under the dim light of the street lamp, its sequins catching the glow like tiny stars. Ada looked at it, unsure. "This is too much," she said. "It's too short." Mimi laughed, her voice echoing in the stillness. "Do you want to go looking like a grandma? Wear it or stay behind?" Reluctantly, Ada put on the dress, the fabric feeling strange and unfamiliar against her skin. They climbed the fence together, the rusted metal cold beneath her hands. The club was loud and packed with people, the air thick with the scent of sweat and cheap cologne. Ada felt out of place, but Mimi and Nen moved around like they owned the place, their laughter mingling with the music. While Ada sat nervously at the bar, a man approached her. He was tall, confident, and had a smooth voice that cut through the noise. "Hi, beautiful," he said. "What's your name?" Ada looked away shyly, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of the bar counter. The man smiled, his teeth white against his dark skin. "I'm Jide, and I'd like to be your friend." Ada didn't know how to respond, so she stayed quiet. Before he left, Jide slipped her a piece of paper with his number. "Call me," he said with a wink, his cologne lingering in the air after he walked away. The next morning, back at the hostel, Mimi and Nene teased Ada about Jide. The sunlight streamed through the cracked windows, illuminating the messy room filled with clothes and textbooks. "Do you know who he is?" Mimi said, sitting cross-legged on her bed. "He's rich. He can buy you anything you want." Ada shook her head, her voice firm. "I don't need anything from him." But Mimi and Nene wouldn't stop. They painted pictures of luxury, of a life where Ada wouldn't have to struggle anymore. Slowly, their words began to sink in, like water wearing down a stone. One day, as the sun set and painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Ada picked up her phone and dialed Jeed's number. From that day, Ada started sneaking out regularly with Mimi and Nene. She met Jeed often, and he showered her with compliments and gifts. A gold bracelet dangled from her wrist, a token from one of their meetings. But as her nights grew longer, her grades began to suffer. The once brilliant Ada now struggled to stay awake in class, her notebooks filled with half-finished notes and doodles. The ticking of the classroom clock seemed louder as her mind wandered. She didn't realize it, but she was walking down a dangerous path, one step at a time. One sunny afternoon, as Ada sat in the hostel trying to study, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jeed. "It's my birthday this weekend. I want you and your friends to come. I'll want you and your friends to come. I'll send a car to pick you up." Mimi squealed with excitement when Ada told her, her eyes lighting up like a child's at Christmas. "Do you know what that means? His house is probably a palace," she said, clapping her hands. Nain chimed in, twirling a strand of her braided hair. "We have to look our best. This is our chance to meet other rich men." Ada felt uneasy, but didn't want to disappoint her friends. That weekend, they sneaked out as usual. A sleek, shiny car was waiting for them outside the school fence. The driver, dressed in a crisp black suit, smiled and opened the door, and they were whisked away like princesses to Jide's house. When they arrived, Ada's jaw dropped. The mansion was massive, with sparkling lights that reflected off the polished marble floors, and music so loud it seemed to shake the earth. The party was in full swing, with people laughing, drinking, and dancing everywhere. Jid welcomed them with open arms, his eyes scanning Ada with a glint of admiration. "You look beautiful," he said, his eyes fixed on her. She felt a strange flutter in her chest, but quickly pushed it away. As the party continued, Jid pulled Ada aside and handed her a stunning gown. It glittered like 1,000 stars, the fabric soft and cool against her hands. "I bought this just for you," he said. Ada smiled shyly. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But then Jide's tone changed, his voice dropping to a low murmur. "You know I've been very kind to you, Ada," he said softly. "I think it's time you show me how much you appreciate me. Come with me to my room." Ada froze. Her mind raced, and her heart pounded like a drum. "I can't do that," she said, stepping back, her voice shaking. Jide frowned, his expression darkening. "Why not? Don't you love me? I've given you so much." Ada's voice trembled, her words stumbling out. "I made a promise. I won't give my body to any man until my wedding night." Jide's face darkened further, his eyes narrowing. "Promises don't mean anything here," he said, his tone icy. "You're mine tonight." Before Ada could react, Jide grabbed her wrist, his grip firm and unyielding, and dragged her upstairs to his room. She begged and pleaded, her voice breaking like fragile glass. "Please don't do this," she cried. "My sister died trying to end a pregnancy. I can't go down that road." But Jide didn't listen. He locked the door and forced himself on her. Ada's screams were drowned by the booming music outside. When it was over, she lay on the bed, broken and betrayed. Jide left her there and went back to the party as if nothing had happened. Ada, trembling, put on the beautiful gown he had given her. It was the only thing she had to cover herself. When she came downstairs, Mimi noticed the gown immediately. "Wow, Ada, you look amazing," she said, not noticing the pain in Ada's eyes or the way her legs shook with every step. "Please take me back to the hostel," Ada whispered, tears streaming down her face. Mimi and Nenny finally agreed. They sneaked back into the hostel just before dawn. In the safety of her bed, Ada wept silently, her tears soaking her pillow. Hanhive had changed forever, and the betrayal she felt weighed on her heart like a stone. Weeks later, Ada began feeling sick. She woke up nauseous, weak and dizzy. One of her close friends noticed her symptoms and said quietly, "You should take a test." Her heart pounded as she borrowed a pregnancy test kit from a senior girl. The result was clear, and it felt like the ground had opened beneath her feet. She was pregnant. Ada sat on her bed, holding her head in her hands, her mind spinning like a whirlwind. The dim light in her small hostel room cast long shadows on the walls, making the space feel even more suffocating. She thought of her parents, the dreams they had for her, and her sister, who had died trying to end a pregnancy. The weight of her situation pressed on her chest like a heavy rock. Desperate, she confided in Mercy. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, her voice shaking. Mercy, calm and unfazed, shrugged. "It's no big deal," she said, pulling out the familiar packet of pills. "Take this and you'll be fine. Everyone does it." But Ada froze. Memories of her older sister flooded her mind, the sister who had tried to end a pregnancy and paid the ultimate price. Ada had watched her parents bury her sister, their tears falling like rain on dry soil. I can't, Ada said firmly, her voice shaking. I won't take it.